Hello everyone, my name is Michael P. Burke, and today I will be teaching you a tutorial on layers in Adobe Illustrator. It's just a general tutorial on how layers work, but really about the importance of layers and getting comfortable with them right from the start. So yes, there's many reasons I could go on why layers are so important. As traditional artists, we often do, those of us that are traditional artists first, often will resist the layers that seem so foreign to us. But it really is a must, and it's the most simple tool to learn. And as long as you just start using it right away, within a couple of days, you'll just won't even think twice about using it. And it really is a simple tool. And what it'll do is it'll keep you focused. It'll let you work on certain parts of an illustration without accidentally affecting the other parts. Um, It'll help you, especially once you get into more complex illustrations. It'll help you prevent you from creating mistakes and stressing out. It's just a win-win to use it. So the layers is a simple tool that's found right here. It's probably found in a couple other spots, but here's where you usually find it. And so this illustration here that I created is made up of 11 layers. So I don't use a lot of tools here. I use the add tool and trash can on occasion. And then occasionally I'll use these two tools here. And that's about it. So you just want to make sure that the blue line is on whatever layer you're trying to work on. In this case, we're on layer 10. And these two tools are really neat tools. This is a locking tool. That's why you see a little picture of a lock. It just means that you can lock certain layers so that when I'm working on this layer 10, I won't affect anything in these layers. So that's really neat. Another thing is you can make, I rarely use this, but let's just say you make such a complex illustration where it's so visually complex, you just want to focus on one thing and visually everything else is distracting you. You can eliminate things visually, just make them invisible basically. So if I was to click the eyeball here, the eyeball will disappear, which means layer 11 will still be there, but it'll be disappeared. It'll go invisible. And so that was the border. So the border disappeared. Now layer 10, the entire illustration is there, so that disappeared. And in the illustration I had a layer underneath just popped up. So you can just eliminate whatever if you want, but mostly you'll just use the lock one and the add button, and that's it. And you'll start with one layer. Whenever you start an illustration, you just start with one, and then you just push this, and more layers will add. And so let's talk about actually using in the practicality of it. So the practical use of creating these layers is I often use it when I want to make like a face here. So basically, this is made up of layers. Let's take a look. It's made up of 6 layers. So the first layer, just like landscape painting, where you paint the furthest thing in the distance and start slapping things on top, so you start with the sky and then you slap on the clouds and then you move in and you'll do mountains far away and then you'll start doing tree lines and then you start moving in closer to structures. Same kind of thing here. Layer 1, you'll put the thing that's furthest in the distance. So in this case, it's the shape of my head. And I can lock it here. And if I wanted to work on these other things, I wouldn't affect that shape. So again, the benefit of locking. And let's see, so what's in layer 2 here? So layer 2, it was the shading. So I did the shading and I put that in layer 2. In layer 3, I put in eyebrows and mouth and nose. It's up to you what to put where, but so there you go. And it just helps you sort things out. The last layer, I believe, is yes, it's the sunglasses. And that's basically how you would illustrate to create an object or a thing in Illustrator. And once it's finished, because you don't keep them all layers, because if you were to do a full illustration like this, if I left this all in, all the layers in the eyes and all the layers in the mouth and all the there would be, you would have an illustration. This illustration alone would be thousands of layers. So we can't do that. So you will have to start condensing them. But just when you're creating things, it helps from a creative standpoint. When you're doing an object or a person or a thing, start in layers. And often pieces of that thing I will create in separate layers. So like for eyes, so when I'm doing a head, what I'll do is, yes, I'll create the shape first. And then when it's time to create the eye, what I'll do is I'll actually open up a new tab, a new window. So these are all different tabs, different illustrations. I'll just open a new tab and do the eyeball there in several layers. So what I'll do is I'll draw the eye and fill it with white, and that will be layer 1. And then layer 2 will be the brown, and layer 3 will be the green, and layer 4 would be the black pupil, and layer 5 would be these light highlights, and layer 6 would be the eyelashes on top. And then when I'm totally sure that the eye is completely done, then I would just hit group. Basic tool you learn when you use this, very basic. And when you do that, you can hit group, it'll condense them all to one layer. And then you can move it around and see. So now that this way I can move it around, I can adjust it. I can move it around on my illustration. I can make it bigger, smaller, wider. I can make myself wide-eyed. Undo. Undo is your friend, of course, in digital programs. So there you go. So that's practically how you do it. You'll create an eyeball in layers and stuff. Then when it's totally finished, you'll group it together and then pop it on top of your overall illustration, your face. And mouth, same thing. I did this with separate layers, and then I hit group until now they're just in one layer, and then I popped it on top. And that, I believe, now is sitting in layer 3. So there you go. So you will do things in layers. You won't keep them all in layers. You will group them down. But it's good to get into practice. It just helps you focus, helps you stay, keep everything organized. And then you can group them together and then move them around on your illustration. So there you go. So, and then finally, I would group together this head. I would group it together. And then I would do a body and group that together. And then I would group the head to the body, etc., etc. But in the end, you'll really only have between 6 and 10 layers for a full illustration, which I would recommend. So in the end, as you can see here, I have that's an effect. Behind the effect, I have what is actually my background image, which is the snow and all that stuff. And then on top, the layer here, so I only have 6 layers. Then I have my guy, which I can move around and do whatever. I can shrink him. I can do all kinds of things. I can move this guy around. I can adjust my text. So that's what a finished. So even your finished will have layers, but you'll only have between 6 and 10 or 6 and 15, and that's it. But get to know your layers. It'll save you so many hassles. And there's no reason to avoid it. Sorry, programs. It's got a lot of work out recently. So while we're waiting for that to fix itself, I teach workshops. So I will give you a quick rundown of what my workshop entails. But I've been teaching 17 years, painting landscape techniques. And then now in recent months, I've been teaching Adobe Illustrator. I've been using Illustrator as a professional for 13, 14 years. So my students love my one-on-one technique, and where I adapt to the student. But don't take my word for it. Let's see what one of my students says. So just like I might use a tiny bit of a few clips from here to make a kind of a promotional video. So in that vein, if you were to rate me from 1 to 10 as a teacher in today's class, and don't lie, you can be honest. I want you to be totally honest. Rate me between 1 and 10. 10. Thank you. There you go. So she gave me a 10. Okay, sorry about that. There was a bit of a lag there. You won't really get that kind of lag until you're months or years in, where you've got so many files and you've been using so much of the tools in the program where you might get a little bit of a lag. But that's why I'm doing a lag, because I do a lot. You won't. It'll be nice and quick and easy for you. All right, so there you go. So that's generally what an overall illustration will look like with the layers. You'll just have a few, but again, get used to your layers. It'll save you a lot of trouble. And so for those, that's the tutorial for today. I hope you enjoyed that. And now I'll just give you a quick rundown of my workshop, which is Zoom. It takes only 4 hours. We take lots of breaks. And basically, I teach you the basics to do this level of artwork, this complexity of artwork. You only need basic tools to this level. I mean, you could spend 6 months to a year trying to teach yourself. If that's your style, by all means. I'm self-taught. You could take courses and spend a fortune, and they get into all the techie tools and all the advanced stuff that gamers use and professionals use. But for just general professional illustrators, amateur or professional, you can everything. I've done children's books. I am a professional. I've been for 13 years, and everything I do is at this level in Adobe Illustrator. So I'm only teaching you what I do, and only teaching you the tools that I do. So you'll only use a handful of tools in here that are really useful. In each of these, I'll teach you only tools you'll use. All of this you won't use. I'll just teach you how to basically work in here, and there's certain in here. So you'll only learn the basics you need, and some tips and tricks to do some special effects so that you can do exactly this quality. And from there, then you can, by all means, there's so many free tutorials online and stuff, although usually most of them aren't verbal. They're just somebody clicking and you're just watching, as opposed to me, I'm actually walking you through one-on-one and teaching you. But there are lots of resources, so you can certainly expand, but the best way is to start simple and to have somebody walk you through it. And that's the benefit of having somebody like me, an experienced teacher, and I adapt to each student. So it doesn't matter what your learning ability is, I will adapt to it. So you can, believe me, I can teach anybody to do this. It is very basic techniques. It'll be a lot of fun. Most of the class is you doing it, actually. I'll show you these tools and explain a few things, and then you'll just start practicing, and we'll switch screens, and then I'll say, make me a circle, and you'll come over here and make me a circle, and I'll say, make it green inside, and you'll do that, etc., and practice everything you learn. Like I said, we'll take lots of breaks though, and we'll record it. So you'll have the 4-hour class to come back to and refer to if you forget anything. So usually one course is all you need, but I'm always open to giving more, but usually one should do it. One should give you the resources and the knowledge, and you'll have that recording to do basic to practice. And what we do is we get you to sign up for Adobe's 7-day free trial just hours before the day we book. And then that way you'll have 6 full days to test the product. And so this is a cheap way, with the guidance of a professional, to practically test the product. Because a lot of people, newbies, they'll get the 7-day trial, but they only use it once or twice and they don't know what they're doing. So they can't really tell whether they like the program. But with me guiding you through all the basics, you'll be able to actually practice and decide at the end of 7 days if you want to rent the program. And it's usually about $20 to $30 somewhere around there, depending where you live, the region. So, and you can cancel at any time. But I recommend you do it that way. And then that way, if at the end of the 7, then you can just cancel and just, it's currently I only charge $60. So it's a cheap way to get invaluable lessons that also cross over to other programs, because tools are very similar to other programs. So as a newbie, even if you end up long-term not going with Adobe Illustrator, what I teach you will help you at least understand the language when you try to learn another one. So yeah, so many benefits. It's such a great deal for such a low cost, and just 4 hours of your time, and then you walk away with all that practice and knowledge and the recording to go back to and view. It'll be a video recording, so you'll see everything I did, all the practice you did, the whole thing. So if you do want to contact me, the information is attached to this post, but it's basically just email me at michaelpburke@yahoo.com, and you can give me more information and book you a class. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial, and get practicing. Take care.